Hey everybody, it's Matt Brown from Matt Brown's Guitar Studio in Chicago, the band Dead Parade. Forgive me, I have a little bit of a sinus thing going on, but I figured I'd do this video anyway. So what I'm going to talk to you about today is how to memorize the fretboard of the guitar. So this is a question that tons of people have asked me about, so I figured I'd do a video. So my best suggestion to you is to learn how to read music. That's the best way to learn this information, retain it, make it meaningful so that you can use it and apply it in a musical way. That's my best suggestion. So what I have my private students go through is a series of 3 books in addition to probably usually a few other materials. So the first one that I want to show you it's called Progressive Guitar Method Book 1 Beginner. So this is a real old version of this book. It's by Gary Turner and Brenton White. It's got a black cover, but the design is the same now. So this is what you should start with. Go cover to cover, start to finish with this one. And then the next book you want to start with is A Modern Method for Guitar by William G. I believe it's pronounced Levitt. Bill Levitt or Leavitt, not sure. So this is the Berkeley Press, kind of fundamental guitar book, which is all standard notation. I usually have my students go through book 2 of this as well, in addition to another Berkeley book called Melodic Rhythms for Guitar by the same author. Okay, so I realize that's going to take a while to get through, so you're looking for some practical tips to get you started. You know, if you're a beginner for guitar, to guitar maybe, or looking for some practical information to help you find your bar chords or your scales quicker, that kind of stuff, or the key you're playing in. So to get started with that, let me give you just some basic information. You know, probably information some of you know, but let's get it out of the way. So that is where the half steps and whole steps occur in the musical alphabet. So for instance, let's start with your low E string. You have it's an E note to start off with. So the half steps mean they're going to be essentially 1 key on the piano away, or on the guitar in this case, we're 1 fret away. So in this case, open string to the 1st fret would be 1 half step, as we're going to call it. So don't get confused that the fret distance being 1, it's a half step, musical half step. Okay, so E to F, always next door neighbors, regardless of what strings they're on. So then the next thing that you're going to have, there's a whole step between F and G. So G is going to be at your 3rd fret, and what that makes in between there, the 2nd fret is a sharp note, F sharp or G flat. Same difference. Alright, so in between G and A, you have another whole step or 2 frets, so that takes us up to the 5th fret. Between A and B, you've got another whole step, so that's up to the 7th fret. Then B and C, we have our other pair of next door neighbors. So 7 to 8, that's a half step. So B and C there. Alright, then we've got another whole step, C to D, and then D to E. And at this point, we're back to the starting pitch, so pretty much everything just repeats that we had before at the 12th fret. Alright, so memorizing the 6th string first is your first goal with this. And if you need to, think about the half steps and whole steps and where they occur. So why I memorize the 6th string first? It's because it's going to help orient you with your basic scales and chords at first. So when you start learning your power chords and your bar chords, your first finger is going to be holding down the root note, which is going to name your chords. So that's why it's best to learn the 6th string first. So on and so forth. So with your power chords and bar chords, you know where you are. Also, with your scales, if you've learned your pentatonic scale, for instance, just played A minor pentatonic, probably one you might know. Your first finger's holding down that root note, so if you want to change keys, you got to know, where you're going to. So you know what key you're in. Alright, so also too, once you have the 6th string memorized, by default you also have the 1st string memorized, because those strings are the same pitches. So you've already got 2/6 or 1/3 out of the way. So my next suggestion then would be to look at octave relationships. For example, your strings that are like every other string, so your 6th and your 4th string, they have a special octave relationship. So if you know the notes on your 6th string, you will also know the note on your 4th string by this trick that I'll show you. So let's say I've got an E note going here. the same pitch an octave higher is going to be found on the 4th string 2 frets higher. So if I go to the next note, that's an F, it's going to be on the 4th string as well. So let's say you're trying to figure out what note you're playing on the 4th string, like I play this 9th fret note. You don't know what that is on the 4th string. Well, if you know your 6th string, it's the same note, 2 frets back. So you know that's B. Alright, so that's a cool trick. So at this point, if you know the pitches on the 6th string, and then by default the 1st string, you're going to be able to figure out the pitches on the 4th string as well if you need to. So then the next thing to talk about is, okay, well, we have two strings left. What can we do with those to help orient ourselves with information we already know? So if you look at the 4th string, and then if you skip the 3rd string and you go down to the 2nd string, the relationship of the octaves there is 3 frets. So that's kind of what I do to figure out, my notes on the 2nd string. So I just look at what the 4th string would be, and then it's the same note, 3 frets up on the 2nd string. And that relationship, you can hear it, it continues all the way up the fretboard. So what we're going to do now is look at some of the various octave relationships on the guitar, just so you can be aware of these little tricks to help you figure out the other notes on other strings. Okay, so we already talked about the 6th and the 4th string, that relationship there. That's an important one. So the 5th and the 3rd string have that same spatial relationship. Just, 2 frets up, 2 strings down, and you've got an octave. With the 4th string and 2nd string, it changes. We're now 3 frets apart. Same with the 3rd and 1st strings. Now, some other important octave relationships that some people aren't aware of are, for example, like the 6th and 3rd string. Like if I hold down the 7th fret and the 4th fret, so they're like a backwards relationship of 3 frets. You have octaves there. If I do the 5th and 2nd string, oh, sorry about that. Just 2 frets there. Also the same thing if I do the 4th and 1st string. You have octaves there. So, long story short, by using these octave relationships, if you know another string, you know the note on another string. So let me give you a few other tips that'll help you with the whole note memorization on the fretboard thing. I found that to retain information the best, you have to learn information from a few different angles. Combine as many different brain usages and functions as you can. And if you do that, you're going to have a better chance of retaining the information in the long term. So what I mean is, try to learn your notes using a few different exercises. For example, do these octave tricks and maybe do some rote memorization. Then, while you're practicing, you might as well multitask. And let's say you're practicing your bar chords up and down the fretboard. Make sure you're saying the name of the chord out loud. Like, for example, A. My first finger's holding down an A note. I'm playing A. Here, I'm playing D. Instead of not, I'm just playing 5, 7, 7. Make sure you say it out loud, too. Using your voice will help, combine those brain functions. If you play a scale, for instance, make sure you're saying all the pitches as you play it. Like if I do that A minor pentatonic scale, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C. And play it in different keys. If I do it in the key of F sharp minor, F sharp, A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, A. You can see it's totally automatic. I don't have to think about this at all. So another thing to think about too is like when you play a melody, read a melody from standard notation. So you're reading the notes on the page, your eyes are seeing them, and what you want to do is as you're playing the notes, say the note names out loud, like Mary Had a Little Lamb, E, D, C, D, E, 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 that kind of thing. And by doing this, if you do it all across the fretboard, play melodies in various positions, you're going to get all of this down in no time. Alright, so if you guys have any questions about this or want to know more details on this subject, just get in touch. And I have plenty more of these general guitar technique lessons, and after the new year I'm going to be getting back to some song lessons too, so stick around for all of that. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching.